So I can't believe we're back here again, but we actually have a follow-up on the entire King and Young Rare situation. If you haven't been following this up to this point, basically there's these two artists in the underground known as Young Rare and King. King was pretty big back in 2017. The song was Zilla. He helped to put Killswitch and Flocko on. He had a little bit of association with Dirty Butt and Spider Gang. And then you got Young Rare, who blew up around 2020 with his song Moshi Moshi. He had some motion in the underground before that point. He had another big song with Deadbeat Villain, but he really hit his peak once that song came out. Surprisingly, he actually ended up catching some attention from the Zilla Kami subreddit because it turns out that he makes pretty similar music to Zilla Kami. So some people were asking, what's going on with this guy? And a few people said he got some pretty nasty charges, but there wasn't a whole lot of evidence to back that up. Fast forward to a couple years later, I end up doing a video on Young Rare talking about his whole case and how he actually got caught R-wording minors, which he was able to cover up pretty easily because he was never actually convicted of the crime, because at the time that it happened, the police ended up interrogating the two girls that he supposedly R-worded, but they were under the influence, so that testimony had to be thrown out, and then after that, they ended up leaving state, so they weren't able to testify against him in court. So with no witnesses being able to back up the claims, he ended up getting his charge pled down to a robbery charge, and then after that, he was able to expunge his entire record, because in Idaho, when you're a first-time offender and you're a young offender, sometimes they'll clear your entire record when it's your first offense, even if it's something as vile as, well, what he did. So I put together this entire video, and then Rare had a response where he actually put out a diss track against King and basically blamed King for being the one who got him into trouble in the first place. He really went out of his way to try to make King look as bad as possible, which, don't get me wrong, King definitely did some bad stuff, but I was able to disprove some of the claims that Rare made and prove some of the other ones that he made, so they both end up looking bad in this situation, but Rare somehow managed to skirt away from all the charges and not really speak about it. And for the next couple months, that's basically what he kept doing, blaming King for being the devil and being an evil man that got him into trouble, even though what went down with King happened way later on than the charges with Rare, so I don't really know how it's relevant. I ended up releasing some of King's music and doing a couple interviews with him that got taken down because supposedly Rare kept calling the PO officer to take King's interviews off of my channel, which made me more upset at Rare. And then Rare basically tried to paint me out as being a biased party to King when I wasn't really talking about King in the first place. When it comes down to this situation, it's two separate things. There's Rare's charges and King's charges, but King actually ended up going to prison, serving his time, but yes, he did beat a woman and that's why he went to jail. So if you think that's disgusting and you won't listen to his music because of that, that's totally understandable, but he was open about that in my interview.
Yes, I did. I have a domestic violence charge. Now, I'm going to admit to it, and I think that in any regard, no matter how severe or the pictures that have been shown online are, I think that at the end of the day, that yes, I have done what I've done. I'm willing to take responsibility for some of the things and antics that these other lame-ass goofy goobers who got even more severe and disgusting charges. Am I willing to take those kind of pictures and all that shit like that? No, bro. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I did put my hands on my ex, and that's something that I regret daily because I have two beautiful sisters.
That's pretty well all I'm going to have to say about King in this video, because people keep trying to make this into a King versus Rare situation when really it's actually just Rare trying to skirt away from what's going on with his charges. Like, yes, King is bad. I will say he's bad. I feel like this whole back and forth of who's worse, like you beat women, but you ended up kids, you're worse than me, is really weird, and a lot of people are saying the same thing, so I really just want to talk about how Rare came at me. So he ended up responding to me on his story after 6 months of the video being out, saying, "One more thing, the real Twisted World, I watched all those videos and they're capped. You let that sociopath manipulate you into spreading his fake ass savior story and never ever bothered to fact check with any of the victims. You said I've been declining an interview, but you never hit me up. I got the truth for you." For every lie I heard in those videos, I responded with the truth. I typed everything out in a long ass comment, so if you're really as non-biased as you say and you really give a shit about showing your viewers the full story, you won't delete it. Shit, maybe we could even meet there for some dialogue. He then shows this comment saying, "One thing about me, I stay with receipts," and then after that he said, "N-words just be on the internet talking and talking and talking and talking and capping and capping and capping and capping. Does that shit get tiring?" I ended up responding saying, "I don't get why this is about King. We're talking about something that happened long before King." I then responded saying, "I did hit you up for an interview and you didn't respond, but what you gotta realize is when you call the PO officer over unrelated interviews that aren't talking about you, I'm forced to take them down, and that messes with with my shit. I get you're an artist and you don't give a fuck about YouTubers and think we're leeches, but getting our content taken down is lame. Then tag him in a story and explain to him that if he lets my 3 interviews with King go back on my channel, then we can have a dialogue, but he doesn't respond right away because apparently he's asleep. After that, I post a couple more stories saying that I actually admire the fact that he went on his story and actually called me out in public and didn't try to hop into my DMs and call me out that way, because a lot of artists like to do that. And then after that, I said we can get on live and talk about it. I ended up hopping on Instagram live for a little bit talking about the situation, but he never went on live with me, unfortunately. So I'm like, you know what, the guy's probably asleep, we'll talk a little bit later on. I'm sure he will do the interview now that he's actually willing to have this dialogue. After that, I took to YouTube to try to find this comment where he responded to everything I said in that video, dismantling it piece by piece. I knew it was going to be super intelligent and really thought-provoking, so I had to find it. And here it is right here. He says screenshot in case it gets deleted, because basically he thinks I'm a biased news source and I'm going to try to cover up everything he's trying to say. So in a sign of good faith, I decided to put it on my story so everybody could see in full context what he had to say in the comments, so both the YouTube audience and the Instagram audience are fully aware of what he's saying. I'm not covering up anything, it's out in the open. Now let's actually read what he had to say. So I'm actually going to let this comment play out in full because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to dismantle it as he's speaking, so it seems like I'm trying to cover up what he actually has to say. So I'm going to let him speak his entire mind in this comment, read it out, and then I'll respond afterwards. Okay, sound good? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, these vids have been up for a month already, and today I finally had the time to sit and watch them. I know you'll probably have a lot of emotional time and energy invested in hating me already, but if you could spare just a minute of your time, I have all the real information to disprove every single claim made in both of these videos. Twisted World, if you really are an unbiased news source searching for the facts, you'll leave this comment up and allow everyone the chance to hear what really happened. Let's break it down. I have never beaten, R-word, or put my hands on a woman violently in my life. I was arrested 6 years ago after starting a street brawl, and when they brought me in, I found out I was being falsely implicated as a human trafficker. We met these 2 girls a week earlier and they got reported as runaways, and the police believed me and my friend were responsible and that we lured them to the state to come pimp them out. I served years on probation for felony burglary and my entire record was expunged. The runaway girls were not 14 and they did not get arrested at a hotel. They were 16 and 17 years old and they had traveled across state lines on the bud with money that they had earned selling nudes online. They just turned 19 and had no idea about any of that. They were arrested weeks after that day because they were on the run doing Xans and partying with people. When they got caught, they were sent to juvie to detox off of pills. The whole situation was crazy from beginning to end, but everything happens for a reason, and I was able to grow and change so much during that time period, so I gotta take the bad with the good. My people are the most valuable thing in my life. I obviously made sure it was okay I used the victim's face on the cover art, and everything was being done with the utmost respect. We remain close friends and have infinite love for each other even to this day. The pain we have is shared, and when I speak for all of us. Included the kill text because he already knows exactly who Andy really is, and not only did he live with us in the summer of 2019, but he was a close friend of both victims and witnessed King's violence and manipulation firsthand. We all have a history together, why wouldn't I include his opinion? King did not reach out and find me. I discovered him in a SoundCloud playlist and pitched a collab with him on Instagram. There he went on to move in with me and I had to start writing all of his music because he can't write music. Not because he was making me or anything. That's another weird lie. He's blackout, wasted, drunk, can't write shit, and then gets sweaty and agitated and quits. I had to entirely take over. He threw one of my 2 kittens off the balcony in a fit of rage and they were never recovered. This is not a rumor, it was devastating. Sorry I don't have a photograph of her body for your YouTube video to use as proof. I wasn't charged with any animal abuse crimes because I never told on him. Bro King beat Akari over was not a minor, she was 20 and a close friend of ours, and she even stayed to talk to police who showed up after she called them. She's actually on record and in court documents. If she was underage, why wouldn't the police have arrested the dude who she was having sex with? This lie doesn't even make sense. I've never stole King's gangster stories and that's just a really weird lie. I've never gone on live or had a conversation flexing any of the shit I've done. If you think gangster is the message I'm trying to communicate, you've missed the point of the music entirely and need to gain a little bit more political awareness. We did dodge every subpoena, never stepped into a courtroom, never worked on a case, never signed a statement. We hid out in different houses for weeks while the police were looking for us to avoid testifying, and that was a mistake because we should have just ratted him out. Heartbreak never caught Akari doing anything with any minors, and the whole story about him threatening to leave DR is a lie. Those 2 split way after Heartbreak let his homie hook up with Akari's girl, which was a slimy dirtball move. It was a personal friend beef that people want to turn all dramatic and lie about because it makes them seem interesting. Winterheart Cold is a piece of poo. After tour, when he heard that King had beat Shay, his first response was, what did she do to deserve it? And ever since that moment, it's been that goofball, I don't care. Deadbeat Villain was my first ever collaborator and close friend until tour. He suffers from schizophrenia and has difficulty adapting to tour life around so many people. Sometimes he'll flip personalities or hear voices or see things that weren't really there, and King tried his hardest to drive a rift between everybody, even telling Deadbeat that nobody really fucked with them. And all that shit really took a toll on him. After tour, nobody was able to get paid. We were hoping because my bro broke the window of the van and we had to pay $25,000 to fix it. I think he means we were hoping we were going to get paid, but then he broke the window and then they didn't because of that. The whole experience left a bad vibe and we all fell off after that. It's sad to see him losing his shit so often, but I don't pay that any mind or have any ill will towards that kid. I don't limit comments on my posts, and I have no idea why all these posts have bubble things at the bottom. If you have any questions or comments about any of this shit, feel free to reply to this comment and I'll answer as many as I can. Now to twist it. First off, I have never once been contacted by you to tell my side of the story, the truth. So either you're lying about me declining your interview request, or you never really hit me up, or you've been messaging the wrong account the entire time and should have screenshots to prove it. Secondly, I've never tried to have these videos taken down. This is my first time ever watching them and I know my own character, so I never trip over people having the wrong opinion on me. Either you're lying about me doing that entirely, or something separate happened to one of your videos and that's just a weird coincidence. Third, you claim to be making these videos and statements without bias, but you've spent literally the entire time directly regurgitating King's lies to your audience and helping him manipulate hundreds of people. Could have just fact checked with a single one of the victims before dropping these, and they would have politely contradicted all your points, but you didn't even try. First, you drop a hit piece on me without even bothering to hear my side, and then you want me to come on your channel to defend myself, and all that would do would give you more content to post and give you more ad revenue to collect. You said many times during this video that you wouldn't judge King, but you need to take a step back and realize that's exactly what you should be doing. Saw those pictures and it didn't even sway your opinion on bro. I can hear it in your voice. You're sitting and talking to a convicted abuser and liar. Taking him at his word and making an entire series of videos calling into question the people who are badly hurt and traumatized by him, and that's fucking lame. Look, Twisted, if you really are just a fan of music who was misled and all this cap is just an honest mistake on your end, tap in and let me know. If not, and you're just 100% Team King because you rock with grade A personalities, I don't got anything left to say. If you've reached out at the end of this and you still don't fuck with me, whatever. But if you have the capacity to change your mind, reach out. Don't be a stranger. I love you all. If you have any questions you want to ask, I'll hit back under this post. This is my Instagram post explaining the entire King story, and it's located right here. And honestly, guys, what can I say? He basically completely disproved everything I had to say. He completely deconstructed both of my videos with facts and logic and receipts and proof and everything to go along with it. So honestly, I just gotta submit and say, you know, Rare is right. But no, let's be fair. Let's not make this into a joke right away, because I do actually want to respond to some of the points that Rare made, because a couple of them in there actually have some value, but the rest are complete bullshit. So let's get into it. So first off, he says that he's never beaten a woman, he's never R-worded a woman, he's never been violent towards a woman in any way, which is true, but you've never been accused of that. The only reason he left this part of the comment is to try to make you look at King and say, well, you know what, King was violent with a woman, but Rare never was. He never actually did any of those things, but he did statutory R-word a girl. He wasn't pushing himself on her or forcing himself upon her, but when you screw with somebody underage, it is statutory. Intention here is to make King look worse so he looks more innocent by comparison, but what I'm trying to say is that neither person in this situation is good. There's no hero, there's no villain, they're both bad. Is some stuff worse than others? Yes, but that's up to you to decide. Next thing about the runaways. That is true. They were runaways, they were selling nudes online. The only reason he's telling you about that is because he's trying to make it seem like these girls don't really have any value. They were runaways, they were doing drugs, they were selling nudes. Women were already promiscuous before I met them, so it doesn't matter that I did crime on them. That's basically what he's trying to say. He's trying to paint them in the absolute worst light, so once again, he looks better. You literally weren't charged with sex trafficking either. You can see the paperwork and what he got charged from when he was arrested, and this is what it is. You can see that that's not sex trafficking. I don't think they would have let you off if you were being charged with something that heinous. He then goes on to say that his charges got dropped, but then he said he was also charged with felony burglary. So which one is it? Were your charges dropped, or were you charged with felony burglary? I know it probably seems like I'm trying to split hairs and talk about his wording, but it's very important to note that he priorly said he was charged with gun charges.
And that's what we're gonna get to. But so I find out, and he tells me, because I got pressed downtown. I'm walking with this dude downtown. He tells me, no, I got hit with some guns. I got caught with some gun charges.
That wasn't true. So he's lied in the past. Now he's saying he was charged with felony burglary, which I do believe. But he was charged with this because they had no testimony from the witnesses, which he'll kind of expose a little bit later on in a kind of roundabout way. You really need to pay attention to the way that Rare talks, because he's very manipulative in the way that he will say things that are technically true, but he'll say them in a way that makes it seem like he's actually more innocent than he really is. Yes, your record was expunged because you get one free one when you're younger and it's your first felony. Yes, you were charged with felony burglary, but you were charged with that because they couldn't charge you with the actual crime because nobody testified. He then goes on to say the runaways weren't 14, and that is true. That was an honest mistake by me. I didn't get it from King, I got it from another party, and he told me they were 14, but they weren't. The actual ages were 15 and 16. But Rare saying that one of them is 17 is not true. His ex-girlfriend Julie confirmed their actual ages. His birthday is also June 1st, 1998, and he was arrested in January 2018, meaning that he wasn't freshly 19, you were about 19 and a half, and you were still on a 15-year-old. That is pretty damning that you're lying about the ages to try to make yourself look better? Are you going to try to discredit Julie next? Did you watch the interview where she talked about the fact that you actually slept with several underage girls but only got charged with this?
He was with another person, a tattoo artist. He goes by Rave King, but his name is Johnny Waxmansky. And they were using kind of Jalen's name and his tattooing to build like kind of like a business off of it. And so like he would be over at Johnny's all the time, and I guess he met these two girls that were 15 and 16. I know in your that they were 14, but they were 15 and 16.
Okay.
That were from another state that they got a bus tickets for to come here. And then they got a hotel room, and that's where that happened. So I mean, it was definitely true. Like they did sleep with those girls. And then we ended up getting kicked out of the house we were living in, and we moved in with my mom. And he like started this beef with this guy, and they ended up getting in a fight in the park across the street from my mom's house. And Jalen got arrested for that. So I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna bail my boyfriend out here in a few hours for
fighting, being in a public park, because there's laws in Idaho, right, that you can't be in a public park. Okay, yeah.
Correct. And then like a few hours, I ended up falling asleep, and at like 2 a.m. my homegirl that I was with woke me up and was like, there's no way you're bailing Jalen out. And that's where charges were from. He ended up getting out, I think it was like 80 something days later or something like that.
It's also very convenient that Julie is the only one that's not actually mentioned within this comment, because he doesn't want to discredit her or even mention her when she's the main person that came out against you, exposing everything you did in your past. He then goes on to say you got permission from the victim to put her face on the cover art of the diss track, and I'm glad you did, but that doesn't really mean anything. You're not understanding the point that I'm making. You were accusing me of benefiting off a tragedy, yet you put a girl who's beaten and bruised on the front of your diss track cover against somebody that you don't like. It doesn't matter if she said it was okay. You are still profiting off of abuse. So if I had reached out to this Shay girl to get her permission to make the video, even though the video is really not about her in the first place, it suddenly would have been okay. You are profiting off of abuse, and if I am, then so are you. We're in the same situation here. It doesn't matter if she said it was okay. The act of doing so is still the act of doing so, so if you're going to paint me in that light, you have to paint yourself in the exact same light, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later, because me and him actually went back and forth in the DMs about the same exact thing. And talks about including the kill text, and honestly, I feel like Killswitch definitely hates you at this point, because he has this huge career. He doesn't even want to mention King. He didn't even talk about him in that one interview he did after he got famous.
Dude buys a shit ton of followers. He buys a shit ton of followers? Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I don't him either. I don't him either. Insane. Yeah, but okay, yeah. That's why I thought. That's why.
Dude does not want anything to do with you. You're trying to muddy down his name and bring him into something he really doesn't have that much to do with in the first place. You said he lived with you for a couple months. Your girlfriend confirmed that he only lived with you guys for 3 days. So you're straight up lying about that. And you try to position it like me and Kill were friends. So obviously he would want to give his 2 cents on the situation. Those were texts from 2020. Kill doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. You simply brought Kill into this situation because he's a bigger artist with more buzz around his name, and you want to leverage his clout to try to paint yourself in a better situation, because Kill didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was going on with you or King, and then he said, you know what, King's a bad guy. Congratulations, Killswitch doesn't like King. There's a lot of people who don't like me either that would probably talk about it, but if they don't want to give their 2 cents on the situation, digging up text from 4 years ago doesn't make any sense. He's basically irrelevant to this entire situation. This next part basically doesn't even make sense. He's arguing against the point I didn't even make, where he said King never discovered him. He discovered King, and then he asked him to move in, but literally what I said, that you discovered him, that's even what he said in his very own interview. I don't even know what you're trying to argue here.
And Young Rare reached out to me. I'll give him that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He reached out to me, and that night, you know, we spoke throughout the night, and he was a fan. Like, he was just like, dude, like, your music is amazing. I look up to you. I love you. Please, like, continue to do what you're doing. You know, like, we need you in this shit, dog.
You're trying to make it seem like King wasn't a bigger artist than you. Who honestly cares at this point? Oh, King had more clout than me. I had more clout than King. We're talking about people getting abused and people getting sexually assaulted, and you're bringing up this stupid shit. Who cares? And that goes the same for you writing all his lyrics, or him being too drunk to record music, or you stealing his stories. Nobody cares at this point. Both of you are not really that big of artists anymore, so your creative process really doesn't affect this story whatsoever. And then we're going to get into the cat thing, where you're saying that he threw the cat off the balcony, and this is the part that really doesn't make sense. You were not at the house because you're out with a girl, right? But you were on probation, so you weren't allowed to be out past a certain curfew. So you lied and said you were looking for your cat who got stuck on the roof the night that everything went down. If the cat was dead, what cat were you looking for, Rare? Either you lied in that situation, lied straight to the cops, or you lied about the cat being alive in the first place. I talked to Julia. She said that both Beans and Cheese are alive right now. They were taken away from you because both you and King weren't really great to be around animals with everything going on in the house with the drinking, the swearing, the breaking the walls. You know, you guys were rock stars at the time, so cats couldn't be in that situation. You guys lived in an apartment. If somebody threw a cat off a balcony and it died, I'm pretty sure somebody would have reported it or somebody would have noticed. What did you do? Go down there and clean it? Like, bro, like, stop trying to push this point. Seriously. This is the one point that Rare might actually be right. The girl that Akari was screwing with might not have been underage. I actually heard from a third party that that girl wasn't underage, and it kind of does make sense that when the police showed up, if she had been underage, they probably would have arrested Akari as well. And honestly, that makes sense, and I don't really have anything to back up that that's true or not. So basically, it's King's word versus yours. So you guys are going to have to find a third party to talk about if that girl actually was underage or not. But honestly, it doesn't really matter that much. I just want to make a quick correction to what I said here. Don't get me wrong, it definitely is a big deal if Akari was screwing with an underage girl, but what I'm saying is that King's motive to beat up Akari doesn't really matter in terms of this case, because either way he was charged with it and he is guilty of it. So I'm not saying that that crime doesn't matter, but whether King did it out of jealousy or did it because he was screwing with somebody underage, we don't know. But in terms of the overall story, when we're talking about what Rare did, it doesn't really matter. That's what I'm trying to say. So don't get me wrong, it definitely does matter if Akari was screwing with people like that, but we don't know. And I guess it makes King look a little bit better if he was beating up Akari over the girl being underage and being mad about that, but if it was over jealousy, then I guess it makes King look a little stupid in that situation, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really affect much. But I will concede on that. I don't have proof, so I will say that I didn't know, and if I was being biased in that situation, I apologize. I should have looked into it a little bit more deeper and talked to more people before I put the video out, so I will give you that one, Rare. We dodged every subpoena. You're in the paperwork, Rare. You're literally in the paperwork, and they used your testimony to put King in jail for longer. I don't care that much about snitching, but you're in the paperwork. You didn't dodge every subpoena. I never went to a courtroom. It doesn't matter. You sat in a confession room and explained everything that went down. I understand. You were going to get more time in jail because you were on probation and you were connecting Shay to King. It only further proves that you really don't care about the victim because you were connecting them afterwards, and even King would admit to that, so both of you guys are at fault. Didn't want to get in trouble, and you couldn't sell out Akari because both of you have done despicable actions together, so you can't sell him out, but you didn't want to sell King out because you wanted to keep making music with him. But you snitched. You snitched, man. That's what you did. It doesn't matter if you didn't mean to do so. They used your testimony when they were interviewing you to put King in jail for longer and revoke his bail. Just admit to it. Just say, I was put in a bad situation where I didn't know what to do. But even in the paperwork, you're talking about how you're worried your reputation might be ruined online if you do snitch. But yet your music is not about being gangster. It's about a political message, but you're really worried about being seen as a snitch. All you have to do is actually go out and explain what happened. You're lying again. Why are you lying? Just be truthful. That's all that people really want. Now he's going to discredit every single person who talked badly about him besides King, because King is this big evil villain, but there's other people involved. So we're talking about Heartbreak. So Heartbreak didn't really see Akari messing with an underage girl. It was all this drama, you know, he was just mad about that, and he didn't leave Death Rising because of that. He left long after. Yet there's a poster where it says Death Rising featuring Little Heartbreak. Yet Death Rising was formed afterwards, because the reason Death Rising even exists in the first place is because after you got in trouble for little girls, they put you on this strict thing where you couldn't be online or post music or be active, so you created Death Rising to cover up the fact you were still actively online, trying to still have a presence on there, but you had to cover it up. I heard he came up with Death Rising because, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but basically he got on a registry, couldn't post under Young Rare, so he had to make up a fake account. Death Rising was like a brand, so he could be online.
Essentially, yeah. Because his PO like stripped away all of his social media rights. So then he stayed as Rare, but he created Death Rising so that he could still post, but as the group.
But yet you started making music with Little Heartbreak. He was your first collaborator. There's proof that your first few songs were made with him. There's proof that you were both on the Revenge tour together. He was your friend, and then you formed Death Rising after you caught the charge. But yet you knew him before you caught the charge, so he didn't join Death Rising, probably because he was disgusted by what he saw. He didn't leave Death Rising because it was formed up afterwards, and then this poster proves that he didn't want to be part of it. But that's just semantics and a bunch of drama between friends, because Little Heartbreak, he's not an interesting guy. He doesn't really have anything to say. LA. Despite the fact that he's hanging out in LA, you know, sleeping with models every day, and you're hanging out in Washington with a bunch of empty beer cans talking about this online every day. But yeah, he's not interesting, but you're definitely interesting, Rare. Winterheart Cold is a piece of shit. Okay, King and Winterheart Cold are not even friends anymore, so that's two separate people still talking about the situation. But King's bad, Heartbreak's lying, Winterheart Cold is a piece of shit. Okay. Then we get to Deadbeat Villain, because Deadbeat Villain is the funniest of all of them. This guy is schizophrenic. He sees things, he hallucinates his entire life. He wasn't able to be on tour. King was manipulating him. Once again, these are two separate people that don't have anything to do with each other. They went on tour and then they fell out, being King and Deadbeat Villain, and both of them told me the exact same story. King simply said to Deadbeat that he should watch out and see how you guys are moving. Don't talk too much, don't say too much, and just see what you guys are up to. And then you guys were watching him when he went to the van. There was a lot of stuff going on there that I don't need to get into, but I talked to him, did an interview with him, and he explained the entire tour and what really went down.
I had a parody page, bro. Just making funny songs, goofy songs. Like, I wanted to make parody songs that sounded good. And it was Psych Bitch, I'm Not a Rapper. I posted that shit on the parody page. And then Young Rare hits me up. He doesn't have a song posted, nothing. He just puts up a whole story like, yo, we got some motion going on here. Can I remix your song? I'm like, sure, go ahead. Like, I didn't care because I'm just trying to expand at the time, like work with anyone. It's a parody song. I don't give a about it. So he takes it, he hops on the remix, and then he runs off with it, bro. He makes it blow up in his city. He's doing shows after shows. People think that he's me because they're literally screaming my lyrics word for word. I'm not even there. I don't even know they're having a show. I don't even know shit's going on.
Yeah.
So they literally jump-started their whole career with my sound, with everything, and ran with that shit, bro. And then time comes for that tour, like...
Because when was it that you first heard about, like, his allegations?
In the middle of the fucking tour, bruh.
Yeah.
He told me he couldn't smoke, he couldn't do nothing because he got a charge for an Uzi. He got caught with a Uzi at the mall, so he's on parole and shit. So I didn't know. In the middle of the tour, on the van, someone DMs me the picture of the shit, and I'm like, just shut down. I don't know what to do. I'm on a van full of strangers. I don't know where the I'm at, literally, bro. So my mind, I'm like, okay, I gotta stay cool and just get through this shit, get back to Idaho, and get the out of here. King told me this shit, bro, pulled me to the side, bro, and just said, don't listen to what they say, watch how they move. Because the whole time I thought they were throwing subs at me, throwing shade, all this shit, and I thought I was just tripping crazy. It's in my fucking head. Like, I gotta go get some shit from the van. I go to get some shit from the van. This dude, Caleb, is just hovering over me, watching me, just standing by me. He's following me everywhere I go, watching me. Like, they really think I'm gonna steal some shit from the shit? Like, so I just listened to what he said, bro. Watch how they move. Everything just started clicking, bro.
You guys weren't best friends. You didn't put him on. He put you on with his song, and that's all there really is to it. I don't know why you're trying to make it seem like this guy's a complete basket case, and I don't even really pay attention to him. This guy's called you out time and time again. There's another person who you didn't even mention here called Slug is a Dirtbag who also talked about you. There's Cutthroat Crew who has also called you out in the past. There's a lot of people who just don't seem to like you very much. Like, Rare, it's kind of weird that everybody in your circle is out to get you for absolutely no reason. It's really terrible how everybody you've ever met in your life is a bad person, and they're schizophrenic, and they're liars, and they're all out to get you. Super weird, right? Like, well, how could that happen? And of course, you didn't mention Julie, and then later on you told me, oh, I didn't even watch that interview, but you probably should have mentioned her because she's the one who mainly outed you. He then goes on to say that he doesn't limit comments on his posts, but that's just not true. I seen the second that was posted, absolutely everybody was sending me your response, and I couldn't comment on it. Nobody could comment on it because you botted a couple responses, and then you limited the comments after that. Why are you lying about this? Now we're going to get into his actual response directly aimed at me, because I'm not here to defend King. I'm not here to defend this. I'm here to talk about what he said to me. The thing he said is that he only just watched these videos right now, which is kind of funny, kind of ironic, because he just put out a music video, so it's kind of weird how you only watch and respond to these videos when it's relevant to you and you can clout chase off of it. Not to mention when you responded to King all the way back in December 2023, you mentioned YouTubers. Yeah, I'm the only YouTuber who's ever talked about you, so how do you not see the videos yet you knew that YouTubers were talking about you? That's kind of suspicious right there. You know, that's suspicious. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but the next thing he says is that I never reached out to him for an interview, and I don't have a screenshot, so obviously I never did it. I should have screenshot proofs of every single DM I ever sent ever. Maybe I was actually messaging the wrong account. I couldn't find your account after a certain point because you had me blocked. To me, that says that you don't really want to talk to me in the first place, but let's continue on because you said I never reached out to victims. What victims? Who are the victims? I don't even know. So your logic is you made a claim about King that had nothing to do with my video in the first place, the supposed hit piece, and then I had to reach out to the victim to confirm the claim that you were making about King for some reason. But yet you also said that you speak for all the victims through your music and everything else that you've had to say. So why do I have to reach out to them? Because you speak for them. So I only really have to reach out to you, which I have done. You don't want to go on my platform because I make ad revenue off of it, because I profiteer off of tragedy when you do the exact same thing. So you could have went on a different channel or just explained yourself on your own Instagram. You could have done anything. You didn't have to go on my channel, and I even stated that in my previous videos. The thing about this situation is you versus King. That first video was made without any help from King. All I did was ask him about his part of the story. I posted that interview online. It was then taken down, and you said it wasn't you, so you know what? Maybe I can believe you. The information in that video mostly came from the people that you're trying to discredit as hard as you can, but you want to make it seem like only King has stuff to say about you. You want to make this about the victims, but you're the one who brought the victims into the situation in the first place. Yes, I read the paperwork out, which did include Shay's name, but you're the one who put her face on a diss track. So that's basically my entire response to his comment. I'm sorry if I'm getting upset here. I'm not trying to be mad. This isn't me out here trying to defend King. I'm just trying to confirm the actual information, and he is coming at me, so I'm trying to defend myself. No, King did not implant all these ideas into my head. This video was in the making before I even knew who King was. I only hit him up because he was being blamed for the crimes that you committed. A lot of people were saying King was actually the one who got Young Rare caught up for the charges. So me and Rare actually talked in the DMs. We hashed it out. He told me that everything I said was wrong, and I would confirm it with him saying, you know what, I was just led astray by King. But no, of course that's not what really happened. I asked this man point blank if he wanted to do an interview. He said he wouldn't because I'm trying to profiteer off this whole situation. I'm a YouTuber. Of course I want to make money. You're a rapper. Of course you want to make money. I don't know why you're trying to make it seem like I'm in this situation where I'm such a bad guy for talking about this. By your logic, the news shouldn't talk about this. Nobody should talk about this. There should be no videos, no diss tracks. There should be no media or anything covering any abuse or anything that happens to children, because at the end of the day, if they make money off of it, then it's bad. It's just altogether bad. So I really don't understand why you made such a big deal about doing an interview with me and how I didn't want to ask you to do an interview, but yet when I did ask you to do one, you said no because I would profit off of it. What do you want me to do? Turn the ads off? I can do that if that's what you want. You can do it on Instagram Live. I don't get paid for that. If you're that concerned about me making money off of this situation, we can find a way to do it. We can go on somebody else's platform. But at the end of the day, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. And for some reason, he only wanted to talk in the comments of my YouTube video, but I didn't really respond. All I said to him is I want to put my interview back up. He said that it could go back up. I talked to King about it. His PO officer said that, yeah, maybe it could, but we can't really trust him to not try to report it again. And I don't think it's Rare that's directly reporting the interviews. I actually think he's talking to the victim of King, which is Shay, and getting her to report them instead. But at this point, they're probably never going back up. I'm sorry, guys. I wish they could. I wish I could get my content out there, but I really got to leave this situation alone at this point. We've gone back and forth for the past 6 months. People keep asking me what went down with Rare. This is what went down with Rare. He tried to respond to everything. Most of it was lies. He talked about a lot of people and tried to put them in a bad light, but they responded and they were able to back up what they had to say. And if you still see me as a biased party that's only taking King's side, well, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to discredit any of the abuse that happened at the hands of King, but he did go to prison for that. He served his time. So if you truly believe that the justice system is just, then well, he's done his time and we can move on. If you don't, and you don't think he should be free at all, and you think that's an unforgivable crime, well, I totally understand that as well. I don't want to play semantics or make it look like this or that, because at the end of the day, they're both bad things to do. I think one is way worse than the other, but that's my opinion, and your opinion could definitely differ from that. I'm not here to be like the one controlling word of law, the one person that really is the only right opinion. Rare has said that his opinion is the only right one. It's the actual truth, which is insane to say. There's no full truth in any situation. There's sides to things, and we can try to cover it to the best of our ability, but at this point, I'm going to take a step back like Rare said. I'm not going to try to defend either side. That's everything there is to Rare, everything he threw at me, and I'm only covering that. This isn't a King versus Rare situation as much as people want to make it out to be. I'm sure the diss tracks are entertaining, and of course I posted a couple of those, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be out here just talking to King every day. We don't have that relationship like that. People have said that I'm actually his manager. That's not the case. He simply sends me songs and I upload them because music stands apart from all of this. A lot of people like to disconnect the artist from the art form, and I like to post the music up because people are interested, and of course, I am a YouTuber. I do want people to pay attention. I do want views. I'm not going to pretend that I don't want that. In terms of me being full on Team King, that's not the case. That's not the situation. And at this point, this is really the last drama-centered video about everything going on Instagram with all these stories and covering all this stuff with these smaller artists. I really am going to be moving on to those videos that people want to see. I will be covering Omen 13 very soon. I'm going to be covering more of those high-tier artists that people want me to talk about, so don't worry about that. Just wanted to cover this last time so so people know that I'm not running away from this and that I'm standing on what I had to say, and that if I did get something wrong, I did admit to it. So I hope people understand that. I hope people can appreciate that. With all that said, please don't ask me anything else about Young, Rare, or King. I'm not going to be part of that situation anymore. I'm not going to highlight it or make any more videos. It's been said, every part of that has been covered. So if he responds again, I'm not going to just keep responding and giving him more attention over and over again. I was able to make my point pretty clear, and if somebody wants to come out and prove that I was biased or whatever you want to do, you can do that. But at least for the next couple months, let's move on from this shit. Thank you, Underground. Thank you for everybody who subscribed to me and watched this story all the way through. I appreciate all the people saying that my videos really helped them out, that they like what I do, that they like my coverage on the Underground. And as corny as it sounds, I actually like the negative comments too, because they help to keep me in line and make sure I'm not going too far with certain things. And it's good to have people who will actually check you and call you out if you are going too far. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I do not endorse everything that King is saying about Dirty Butt. Shout out Dirty Butt. Give me clout, Dirty Butt. I'm just kidding. But seriously, I'm not here dissing anybody else in the Underground. This is just me speaking from me. Subscribe to the channel. Check out that second channel where all those interviews with Deadbeat Villain, Julia, and everybody else, not Rare, but everybody else is over there. And finally, thank you for watching. Shout out Knife Gang. Talk to you next time. Bye.